we interviewed Houston Smith, and he told us this wonderful story that illustrates exactly what you said. He told us about driving across Massachusetts one night with Aldous Huxley, and they were going from one lecture to another, and they were talking, and Aldous looked over to Houston and said, "Houston, I'm really embarrassed to tell you this, but after all my experiences and experiments and investigations and everything else I've tried to do, I've only learned one thing." And Houston said, "What's that?" And Aldous Huxley said, "We just need to be kind to each other." Mm-hmm. That's love, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's it. In other words, it's not about you, it's about other.
Yeah.
You know, that's the...
And when you focus on other, you realize we're all one.
Sure.
It's not the other way around.
Whatever I do unto you, I do unto me too.
Yeah. We're all one. We're all kind of in this together. And we all are all chips off the old block, if you will, and that old block is consciousness. We're all pieces of the same thing. There is just one thing, that's the consciousness system. We're parts of it. We're parts of it that are kind of a piece here and there to interact, because that helps the system evolve. That helps, our evolution is its evolution. We are it. It is us. It's not like we're separate. We just, in this reality, we see there's us and there's everything that's separate. But that's just a hallucination of this virtual reality that we're in. And that's like that because that gives us traction, because that separateness gives us relationship, gives us interaction. We're each other's teachers, you see. It sets that up. That wouldn't be that way. So we need that separateness. That's why we're here. It's part of the what's good about this virtual reality. But that's not the reality itself. It's just a virtual reality. This is like The Sims or World of Warcraft. It's just a setup. We're part of the game, and all the information's in the server. We don't have brains any more than Sims characters or World of Warcraft lizards have brains. It's all in the server. But we're limited by our rule set. The rule set says that we can't learn calculus in 5 minutes. It's impossible. Can't take somebody that's never seen calculus and have them learn all calculus in 5 minutes. Can't happen. Why? There's a limitation. Our brain can only do so much based on this thing that evolved. It evolved, and there's a certain probability now of things that we can do. And we're kind of, we have to abide by that. We can't do things. We can't jump 20 feet in the air. We can't learn calculus in 5 minutes, because we have to abide by the rule set of the game. Just like the Sims characters, they can't jump 20 feet in the air either, because they're all simulated humans, so they can't do that either. But we could change the rule set in Sims. We could let them jump 50 feet in the air if we wanted to, but that just changed the rule set. But that wouldn't be this virtual reality, you see. That'd be it's a different game, different virtual reality someplace. This one is made and optimized for us to learn, to grow up. This is a virtual reality trainer for lowering entropy, for increasing the quality of consciousness, for becoming love. That's what it is.
So, given who the server is, or where the server is, or what the server is it possible for us to go from here all the way out there 100 light years or 1,000,000 light years and somehow or another get there and come back? That's possible, isn't it?
Sure. Now, when you say light years, you're restricting yourself to this physical universe.
I'll say, forget the time part.
Yeah.
Can we go out there and come back?
Sure, you can go out into the larger conscious system. That's what you're doing when you're going out of body. That's what you're doing when you're traveling around. Sure, you can get out there, but remember, everything you see, hear, smell, you're not really seeing, hearing, and smelling, because you don't have nose, ears, and eyes. You're just consciousness. You're interpreting the data in terms of see, hear, and smell, because those are the metaphors that you have to deal with.
Right.
And that's how you put it back into language. So think of those as they're just metaphors. So the bubble on the ocean, and then think of it as a metaphor for something. The truth is behind the metaphor.
Right.
Don't get hung up on the literalness of the metaphor itself. Sure, you can go out there. You are consciousness. You can, when you're getting out of this reality frame is easy. You just learn how to meditate, and then you go to a place called point consciousness, which is basically you're no longer plugged into this reality frame. Well, you're out. I talk to these people and that really want to do out of body, and I tell them you don't have to get out of your body. It doesn't have anything to do with your body. You're already out of your body. Your consciousness. What you need to do is get out of your, get out of just this virtual reality frame. Get out of this reality frame. You're not trapped in your body. And the body's irrelevant. Your consciousness. Just, you need to, a little joke, you don't need to go out of body, you need to go out of mind. You see? You need to go out of your mind, not out of your body. Because you are consciousness. All you have to do is shift your focus. And you can be in any number of different reality frames. There are other virtual realities like this one that exist, that are people, that isn't this one. Different universes, if you will. Other than this one, there's all kinds of frames, like where you go when you die. That's just a virtual reality made for transitions for this frame. And, your dreaming frame. You create, you have lucid dreaming, right? You have all these things. They're all basically the same thing. You have remote viewing. What does a remote viewer do? He goes into the database and pulls out data. He specifies the data, that he wants, and he goes and gets the data. How does a lucid dreamer dream? It's the same thing. He wakes up in a dream. He gets his will back, right? He gets his free will back inside the dream, and then he uses that to go elsewhere. He's just collecting data out of the databases. It's all that's how all those things work. The auras, the chakras. You have chakras, right? That's a Hindu thing. Well, the Zen Buddhists don't have any chakras. Does that mean the Hindus are smarter or not as smart as the Zen Buddhists? Chakras are just metaphors, just like the bubbles on the ocean. They're a way of taking the data and arranging it in metaphors that make sense, so that they can tell somebody else about it, so they can explain, so they can categorize it. So don't get hung up on the metaphor. Chakra's just a metaphor. Light, we're light workers. The way we heal, we send a light beam to make that black spot white, right? And that's how we heal. The light is just a metaphor. There is no such thing as energy. It's just metaphors. All there is data and information, and our intent moves it. But we need these tools, because we can't work without tools, because we have these beliefs. Just talk about the physicist belief. We believe that we can't change something unless we do something to it. Therefore, we need a way to interact with it to change it. So we use a light beam. The light's just a tool. People who do Reiki, they have their symbols and tools. They use all those various symbols for things. It's just metaphors and tools. People who heal and have to touch, well, it's just because they have a belief that somehow it's flowing out of their hands or something they have to touch. You don't have to touch. You can just as soon heal somebody on the other side of the world or in some other universe. It doesn't matter. It's all intent and data. The auras are just data. You can get this data back in any format you want. So let's say you're healing and you see your intent is that the good, healthy stuff is white and the stuff that's unhealthy is black. So you see black on white, and then you go about changing the black stuff to white stuff, which is basically get rid of the bad. You could just as easily say, I'd like the good stuff to be nice black, shiny black, and I want the bad stuff to be white. And it worked just as well. When you look at somebody's aura, you say, anger, I want that to be red zigzaggy stuff going like this, Or you could say, I'd like that to be, green spheres floating around. And the system will give you whatever you want. You can get it graphical output if you want. You say, all right, I'd like to see a graph. Here's a graph, and here's, here's say health on this axis, and here's time. I want to see the prognosis as a function of time, as how the health goes. If you ask the data for that, you'll get a graph. You can get color graphs, you can get pictures, you can get anything you want. What we get is we tend to get things in terms of metaphors, pictures that we can then put into words that we can share with somebody else and talk. All we're doing is taking the data, organizing it in a way that we can talk about it, that we can make sense of it. See, we can't even think about it until we put it into the metaphors. Otherwise, it's just that kind of fuzzy information there. We have to stick it into a metaphor, and our metaphors are all physical reality related, right? We all see things, physical matter related, because that's the kind of metaphors we have. That's our experience base. So we make up these things. So if you're a spiritual person and you go out and you see you're out of body and you come across some really wise, great being that has terrific energy, what do we see? We see a being of light, and the light's radiating. It's so bright we can hardly look at it, and we feel the peace and the love and all this sort of thing. Why the being? Because anything that we communicate with or get and interchange with, we call it a being, because we don't talk to rocks, right? So if we're interacting with something, it's a being. And if it's a being, well, it kind of has a head and shoulder and arms, sort of looks like us. And guess what? You know, that's us, right? We're making it in the image. We're the creator, and we're making it in our image. That's the way we see things. If you are, let's say you're very religious, then you talk to Michael, perhaps, an archangel. You talk to this or that because that's a good metaphor for the kind of data you're getting. If you're not, you may see an ancient guru. You see if you come from a different place. Or you may just see a being of light. But all these things are metaphors. And the metaphors are not really important in themselves. They're like tools. It's a tool to help us understand. It's just information out of this system. We have guides. Right, we all have guides that we all don't, but many of us have had guides for a long time. Some of my best friends are guides, right? Or some of my best friends are not physical. But anyway, we have these guides, and we see these guides as beings. And for some reason, we think these beings just hang out all the time, watching every thought and every feeling we have. There they are, I mean, what a boring job, right? That's what they do. They just hang out and they're there and they imagine, and we ask them questions and they have this knowledge. The guide is just our interface to the larger conscious system. Now, it doesn't say that their interface can't be consistent. It doesn't say that interface can't have a sense of humor, can't can't be like a being. But because we're interacting with it, we make it a being, we make it kind of human, and then we have this crazy idea that this kind of human thing is just following us around. We're so important that we get a slave guide that just hangs on our every thought and emotional feeling, right? But it's just our interface with the larger consciousness system. So is our intuition, our interface with the larger consciousness system. So these are all, it's just us, and we're interacting and we have this larger consciousness system. All the stuff we make ourselves, and in my book I do lots of metaphors, a free will awareness unit, an individuated unit of consciousness, then you have oversouls, higher selves, all this stuff. These are like chakras. They're just metaphors so that we can talk about the data. And they make sense to us because of our way we are, our history, our beliefs, our fears, our knowledge, our love, all of it makes us up. These metaphors suit us. That's why some people will just gravitate to some system or other because the metaphors suit them better. I say make up your own metaphors. You don't have to join a group and then use their metaphors and their tools and heal the way they heal and see things the way they see things. You can do that. You've already got a set of metaphors there, but you ought to make your own up because now they're personal. They resonate more with you. So you can have your own. You don't have to heal with a beam of light burning out black spots. You can have a little fairy wand and you can sprinkle fairy dust on a black spot and make it go away. You can use a blowtorch, you can shoot it with a gun, you can use a laser, you can cut it out with a scalpel. You can do all kinds of things. They're all tools. They're all just metaphors. And all the metaphors are doing is helping you focus your intent on what it is you want to happen, which is changing the probability of bad health into a higher probability of good health.